Microphone check 1 2 1 2. Buff Nation, what's going on? Y'all can hear me? Good afternoon, good morning, hello, everyone. Hope all is well. Blessings to everyone. I hope all is well. I hope you guys can hear me. If you are here and you are hearing me, welcome to TLP Live. I am looking on the audio link to make sure this time we don't have no snafus. Make sure that we're not having no audio issues. Good morning, Phil. Welcome to TLP Live. I am your host, Harry B. And if you guys can hear me, please make sure, let me know, guys, if you can hear me. If you were watching and you can hear me, I want to make sure that we don't have no audio issues before I go on talking. And then we have that whole issue in the beginning of the show where you guys are like, oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. So if you can hear me, guys, let me know if you can hear me. I know some of you guys are at work. I know some of y'all are at work and, you know what I'm saying, you can't come into the chat. But if you are in the chat, if you are able to tell me if you can hear me, that'll be a blessing. Thank you so much. But happy Monday, guys. I guess I'm just going to continue to go ahead and just start the show. Happy Monday to everybody. It is the January the 22nd, guys. The year is going so fast that it's like before you know it, football season will be like right here again. And it's almost like if you follow the Colorado Buffaloes very closely, you don't miss a beat because we're right back at it. We're right back at it. What up, DC Carson? DC, you can hear me? Hopefully you can hear me, guys. BP, what up with you? DC, let me know you can hear me. Phil, if you're still here, guys, let me know if you can hear me, guys. But yeah, I mean, if it's right now, if it's 12:03 on the East Coast, New York City time, that means it is 9:03 a.m. on the West Coast, Los Angeles time. All right. My guy DC says, yes, I hear you. That is what's up. That means I can continue to go ahead with the show. I switched up microphones. I try to get real technical. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to upgrade the studio, make things pop a little bit more, make the show a little better. BP is ready to go, says Sapp. Yeah, so in today's show, guys, actually, like I said, welcome to the show. It's Monday. You see what I'm saying? Whatever happened or whatever transpired on the weekends, we're going to talk about it. If nothing major transpired, then we'll talk about the topic that I have for you guys today. We're talking about the DC, and we're talking about Warren Sapp. Warren Sapp, he has not been officially addressed, but on Friday, we kind of touched up on it, and one of the panel members wanted us to go deeper and just kind of put this thing to bed until we get further notice from Coach Prime, whether or not he's going to address it. But we will talk about that today on today's show. So welcome, everyone. Like I said, DC's in the building. DC Carson Music is in the building. Mildred Gay, what up with you? All right. BP's in the building. Dallas is in the building. Timothy Smith or Tim Smith is in the building. You know, I always appreciate you guys coming onto the show. You can't take for granted the people that are around you. You worry about growth. You definitely want to grow, but don't forget to I guess lay into the people that are already with you, that are already supporting you. You see what I'm saying? When you have people around you that are already supporting you, even though you want to grow, you want to make sure that you appreciate and you warmly embrace the people that are currently around you, that are supporting you heavy. And I don't take you guys' support for granted. I want to let you know that you are my community. We are building a community, even though we are just our subject matter is Buffalo's Prime, and you know sometimes we go off subject. But I want to let you know I appreciate you. We're going to get into this show. This is your opportunity, guys. Consider it like a radio or TV talk show, right? This is your opportunity to talk Buffalo's Coach Prime, issues that we are discussing in our community. You can come on this show and you can voice your opinion right here, guys. To call into the show, join tlplive@gmail.com. That is your call-in address. Remember right here, guys, if you're coming in late, if you just here, right here on your screen. If you're not watching, it's on your screen. I know some people are just listening to the audio, but if you desire to call into the show, it is join tlplive@gmail.com. That is the address that you will email. When you email that address, I'm going to give you a link that you would click on. You can call in. You don't necessarily have to show your face. If you want to, you can, like I'm showing my face right now. But you email me, I send you a link, and then you come onto the show and we can talk Buff, Deion Sanders, aka Coach Prime, and everything surrounding. All right. This is Monday. We're gonna cover what went on during the weekend, and then we're gonna talk about whatever else that we want to talk about. We're giving you the current event, and we're gonna give you the main subject or topic that we are talking about, which is Coach Sapp, and where is the DC. All is well. Everybody's good over here. All right, everybody's good. We all hope everybody's good. If you have any news, anything you heard from different channels, guys, because I'm doing a lot of different things, so I don't get all of the information. Obviously, you guys are, you keep your eyes and your ears to the ground, obviously to the buff grounds. So if there's anything, we got any updates that you want to share with us, I can share live while we are preparing to get into the show, the nitty gritty of the show. Please go ahead and put it in the chat. Let me know if you heard anything. Even if you think that I know it already, just go ahead and share with everybody so everybody can get up to date, can come up to speed on what's going on around the Buffs, and then we'll dig into the show. But don't forget to email me if you want to join the show and you want to have your voice heard. Did you see the food? BP said, did you see the food for our guy, Chef Solomon? Wow, Neely has a new video. Feed those boys. So apparently, Colorado has good food, all right? Colorado is if you're talking about the chef at in Boulder or at the university, yeah, we've seen some videos where the chef, where Coach Prime and his boys were eating real good. Jimmy Horn was like, bro, I've eaten so much steak, I'm tired of steak right now. So imagine that. All right. Not important, but the new shoes for the year look great. Feel so real. Hey man, everything about the Buffs is important to us. You see what I'm saying? Coach Prime did reveal the new shoes. If you haven't seen them, sometime during the show, if Phil, if you can send me that photo, without me having to dig for it, if you can send me that photo, I'll go ahead and share it with the folks that haven't seen it yet. Annette, what up? Good afternoon, Harry from Delaware. Good afternoon. How you doing? Hope all is well. From around the world, hello, good morning, good afternoon, shalom, or whatever you say. All right, so I want at least one new person today to join the show. I know you got a lot of you all at work and you're just listening. You're typing away and you're listening, and you're going to be hearing the voices of our panel guests and whatnot. That's how the show goes. At the top of the show, guys, I want to say this because I want to make sure that my people understand, like you guys understand the nature and the spirit of this show. Please understand that I try my best not to necessarily block anyone who has a difference in opinion from us. We are true fans. We're BWB's bandwagon buffs. That means that we are Coach Prime's fans before we are Colorado fans. Obviously, if you've been in 1 year and you really get to learn the team, you kind of just like, you know what, I'm a Colorado fan. But just understand that in this community, I'm not the type that's going to just push people away. I want to hear other people's opinion. There are going to be some trolls, and there are going to be people who just have a stronger, not so favorable opinion of the Colorado team. I try not to send those people away. I try to at least have a conversation with some people. We have come to learn that some people, they are disenfranchised. They are Coach Prime fans, but for some reason they just hold a difference of opinion than we do. Just please bear with those people. If somebody is egregious, if somebody is kind of having, they're not abiding to the community rules where you got to be respectful of each other's comments. We got to respect other people and don't use foul language. Try not to get at somebody too personally. Don't make it personal. If somebody's not abiding by those basic rules, I mean, that's all it is. You know what I'm saying? If somebody disagrees with you and they're saying they're calling Coach Prime's name, listen, we're not Coach Prime gatekeepers, okay? Let them be, as long as they keep it respectful and they don't try to come at you personally. Let me know if they do. I would try to block that person if you can point out to something that they said that was egregious. But let me check let me go ahead and check the email, make sure that my guest is my guest. I don't let my guest stay in there too long. All right. So make sure I get the email going. Peter Investor, how you doing? Hope all is well. How was your weekend? Somebody y'all tell me how your weekend was. We're kind of family around here now, so I know your expectations. We coming with having a show, but I kind of feel like I know a lot of y'all by name. So right now it's like, yo, so right now I know a lot of y'all, and a lot of y'all have already, y'all been around here. If I see a new name, I'll probably, I'll recognize it. But for the most part, I see a lot of the same names, and so I think we're kind of family around here. So let's see here. Let me go ahead and send myself the email. That way we have it. All right. Peter Investor said his weekend was great. That's awesome. How was your Annette? How was your weekend? Phil, how was your weekend, brother? Hope you had a great weekend. All right, so let's go ahead and get the show started. So a lot of you guys understand, and some of y'all already heard the situation about Coach Prime and Warren Sapp. We're gonna dig into that right now. I'm gonna give you the information, the official information, so that you can at least, so that'll be the base of the conversation. So if from here on out, I mean, after this, if you're not, you know, if you don't understand, or don't really understand why Coach Prime is not going to address it, we will talk about it. This is your opportunity for you to come on here and add your voice to the conversation. And from there, from after that, that's it, because you got to understand that there's a lot of public information. There's a lot. This stuff is not, it's not just Coach Prime. There's a lot of organizations that are out there, and we got to make sure that everybody is if you've heard Steve Harvey, where he's like, we black out here. You can't be out here just telling the truth. I don't know if that helped or hurt him. but but you got to understand, and that said, my weekend's still going on. LOL, today my son's birthday, so I'm off. Happy birthday to your son, Annette. Salute with the long weekend. I hear you. That's what's up. so so let's go ahead and address this Coach Prime Warren Sapp situation once and for all. And that way that everybody have the information together, and then everybody can kind of say, okay, I understand why this is going on. But obviously it's been like, it's been on people's mind because Coach Prime really bigged them up. Coach Prime bigged up Warren Sapp, and then he was not allowed to address it. So why was he not allowed to address it? I think there's some protection going on. There's some protection on both sides going on, trying to protect Coach Prime and protecting of the university. And there's a lot of politics, bureaucracy that goes into this whole thing. So I want people to really understand that it's not that easy. It's not easy to just say, hey man, he should be playing or he should be here, blah 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 blah. So I want to make sure that we understand the situation. All right. Phil, give me a second. I got you in a minute. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get this information. Let's share the information. That way you you guys are ready to go, and let's go. Uh-huh. Let's see. Shared information. Let's see, screen one. Screen two. Just trying to make sure I got everything situated here so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. Phil, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem, man. How's it going?
All is well, man. You had a good weekend, man?
Yeah, man. Kept it nice and simple, man. It was a little chilly down here where I am in Georgia. It was like
Okay.
high teens, low 20s, man. So just trying to stay warm, man. That was a focus for the weekend.
So you saying teens? I know. In the South, boy, when it gets a little windy, y'all about to lose your mind.
Man, listen. So we can handle the wind because we have tornadoes and hurricanes and all that fairly often. But when it get
Uh-huh.
cold and it's windy or
Yeah.
cold and rainy, yeah, man, it's different. It's different around here to say the least.
For us people who live in the cold is yeah, it's quite interesting when being from this being that I went to school in the South. It's interesting when I
Hmm.
see Southerners deal with the cold, and we're year round with the cold. So,
Right, right. Yeah, my mom's from
all
New
right, guys,
Jersey,
let me.
so she's used to it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and give these people the story, and then we will discuss it. And if anybody else wants to join the panel, then we will bring them on, and we'll deal with it. Let's go. So give me one moment, please. All right, guys. So here we go. Got to put the glasses on. I'm a little blind. You know what I'm saying? So let's go. This is the information right here. I want everybody to understand this is what's going on. Phil, you can hear me, right?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Deion Sanders wants to hire Warren Sapp at Colorado, but Sapp's history raises concerns. Colorado football head coach Deion Sanders has confirmed at least twice since November that Pro Football Hall of Famer Warren Sapp will be would be joining his staff in Boulder, calling Sapp a teddy bear with a wealth of knowledge that would benefit his players after a 13-year career in the NFL. But Sapp also has another history involving violence against women that has raised concerns in Colorado at the same time, leading to questions about his hiring there and how the university would address it after a previous scandal there led to pledges of no tolerance for domestic violence. In 2017, Colorado's then head coach, athletic director, and chancellor were punished after an investigation found they mishandled domestic violence allegations involving a previous assistant football coach. The university will not confirm Sapp's hiring and gave this response Friday after being asked about it by USA Today Sports. There have been no conversation about hiring Warren Sapp for an assistant coach position at the University of Colorado, said Herbert, sportsman for CU Boulder, sorry. USA Today Sports then asked if there were conversations about hiring Sapp for any job there. Not at this time, Herbert replied. Herbert also said Sanders isn't going to comment beyond what he's already publicly said about Sapp, which include him saying he was excited about Coach Sapp joining his staff. It's not clear what job Sanders had in mind for Sapp at Colorado or if Sanders was waiting for an opening on his staff before having conversations with the university about hiring him. Sapp didn't return a message seeking comment. All right. So this is the basis for our conversation today. This is what I want us to talk about. And give me a second, Phil. Let me see if there's anybody else that wants to join the conversation, and then we'll dig into it so that we can get this thing cracking. All right. So let me take these glasses off. All right, Phil, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, man. I just put myself on mute so you can get through that portion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hope my PG County public school education reading wasn't too horrendous for y'all. Uh, um, I tried my best. Okay, so all right, so here we go. So all right, now we want to put this to bed because people are still concerned. People are still kind of saying, "Hey, what is the real deal about Coach Sapp? what's the nitty gritty about Sapp, and why have we not heard from him? Why and when you read those comments right there, it kind of encapsulates what is really going on. And this is my thought, and then I'll get your thought. This is I would say this is bureaucracy. This is politics, because when you're dealing with a lot of different organizations, they're trying to make sure that the integrity of the organization, and we didn't read there's other portions of it that we didn't read, but the other portions it deals with is saying, like, if you hire Warren Sapp, you're basically saying what is almost like you are agreeing sort of like with his behavior, and other organizations are going to read into that. They're going to read too much into that. So this is it deals with publicity. It deals with a lot of things to make sure that they're not marred in scandal, and they will have to keep answering this question every single time. Like, you can forget about this season. The second he's hired, those organizations are not going to, the comments are fine. Warren Sapp's a teddy bear. He can join my staff. I'm excited. Those things are fine, but you would not understand. You don't know the wrath of those organizations until he's hired and it's official. That will make it official, and then they will come after them vigorously. So they're trying to make sure that if there's any chance or any possibility, they're trying to make sure they either appease the different organizations, or they're trying to make sure that they at least handle the public information before they bring him on, because it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot that they'll have to deal with once he's officially hired, because if they say anything prior to that, it'll be hearsay, and they won't answer the questions. So, Phil, let me bring on DC, and then I'll go to you. DC, welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in.
What's up, fellas? How y'all living?
All is well.
So,
Coach Mike Lowry, welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in.
How you doing?
Good. All right, so guys, Phil, I'll go to you first. That's pretty much how I feel. I feel like, this is what they're trying to do to make sure that these organizations understand before anything is made public. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that since it has been so public already that that Colorado wants to hire, or specifically Dion wants to hire Warren Sapp, I think it is important that they do as much PR work as they can up front, because we know people are going to give pushback. People want to talk about cancel culture and things of that nature. So when people have those accusations, it's hard to come back from. But I think Dion is going to do everything in his power to vouch for him. But I think his leash will be short if Sapp is able to come onto the staff, because you already know people are going to be looking for one slip up to be like, why would Dion, bring him in if he has this history? But since that one incident, we haven't heard much from Sapp as far as those type of things are going on. So I think he'll be fine if he's able to get the job.
I don't think that. I think it's his past sins. I don't know that Coach Prime is worried about him slipping up or anything like that. I think at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is, if the window is still open, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get ahead of it and understand and have conversations either in the community, or invite those people who are concerned about it, the community leaders, or the organizations that are making a push, or even are hinting to pushing. They're trying to make sure that either they bring them to the table and have conversations, depending on what the level of importance that Coach Prime is putting on bringing him in. If Coach Prime really wants him on and he really needs him, then he's probably doing some work behind the scenes. But I think like they're trying to handle that and appease everybody. I know appease is not necessarily the right word, because this is a very sensitive issue, and I don't want to, I don't want anybody to think that this is okay, whatever his sins are, or whatever he's done allegedly. I don't want anybody to think that it's okay, but I just want to let y'all know we're just talking about it as a public, as a PR situation. So DC, what are your thoughts? I know you had a thought, and before you answer, DC, anybody that's in the comments, anybody that's in the chat, we're not making this worse by talking about it. This is something that people are still scratching their heads on, and it was brought up on our Friday show. That's why I said let's go ahead and put it to bed. Let's go ahead and just discuss it. Now you have the information. If you're just joining the show, the information is out there. I just read the article, so now you know for sure this is what's going on. We're just going to try to put this to bed once and for all. So go ahead, DC.
Well, I think that they are probably, just like some places they'll float a name out there to see what the PR is about it. Auburn kind of floated names out there, and Hugh Freeze took a lot of heat. The school had to take a lot of heat before they eventually wind up hiring because they felt that it was worth the risk. Well, you're talking about a situation where a guy is not going to be a head coach, but he is going to be on the campus, and that's a different ball game. So more than likely, they kind of looked at it. It may be where they looked at it. And again, I don't know. I'm just giving an opinion, folks. Is that it may be where they kind of looked at it and said, do we want to buy this liability, or how do we're not going to do it. So how do we do it? Do we just let it die, or what's the way we can address it? Because, you also have things where if you say anything, you could be slandering. The university could be sued by Sapp for slander, or let's say, or for a number of things, as well as, if there's was something in the hiring process, a Privacy Act violation. So they have to walk a fine line, and that's probably why they're being real quiet. Because sometimes it's better to not say nothing and let people talk than to say it and confirm it.
All right, so let's address the domestic violence part of it, because I feel like sometimes when we like somebody and they have this thing that this past, we kind of give it a pass, and then we kind of like just overshadow the other aspects of the sin and never give it, the victims, we never give them their fair conversation. So Coach Lowry, if you can in your best, if you want to, you don't have to, because I know this is a touchy subject and I don't want this to go left, but if you can articulate how important it is that we deal with domestic violence in our society.
All right. Well, you told me don't go left, but I got to give all my factual
it's a sensitive conversation, so I just want everybody to understand how sensitive this is. Just treat it as sensitive as it is, please.
Well, I'm gonna treat it how I dealt with it. So I was unfortunately a part of this situation. My mom killed my
When you
father.
say a part of this situation, you're talking about Warren Sapp situation, or you mean
myself personally, domestic situation.
Oh, okay. So you've had your own domestic violence situation, not this situation.
No. I haven't had my own domestic violence situation. I grew up in a domestic violence trauma.
Okay. Go ahead.
And so
I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked questions. This is a touchy subject because I grew up in it, and I lost my father because of it. And I can understand where the institution comes from, because males are the dominant figure. We're way more masculine than females, and so for us to not be able to control ourselves is a problem with us as a species. So if Coach Warren Sapp or Coach Prime or anybody else that deals with this subject and has been a part of it, you have the Me Too movement, which is very aggressive, and they don't like certain people in the stardom that deals with superiority or masculinity or chauvinist. And so with me growing up in it, I always asked my mom why she stayed you know, in a situation like this where she put herself in danger, put her kids in danger, and ultimately I lost my father.
When you say you
And
lost your father, did he
yeah,
pass or?
I lost my father in a domestic violence situation. My mom killed my father.
Oh man, sorry for your loss, brother.
Yeah, and so it disturbed me all my life. So when this subject comes up with anybody, either Caucasian, black, white, Jew, Gentile, it it, it, it disturbs me because I always wondered why my mom stayed in that type of situation, or why my father was like this, or what was going on, because I was 2 years old, so I wasn't able to understand as a 2-year-old young man, a child. And when I see these type of things come up, you know, it just asks me, why do these people not put themselves in better situations? Why do they, you know, allow these type of situations to manifest in public? Why does these things always happen throughout the communities worldwide, you know? And so, you know, I don't really want to like dig deep into it, but I just want you to know that people are affected from it. And that's why you have so much apprehension when it comes down to public institutions, because you don't want no scrutiny, because you got to understand, you know, there's a statistic out there that's it's 12-1 females on planet Earth versus males. Sometimes it's 16-1. You know, so it's more women on Earth than it is men. And so when you have women in power, you always going to have that type of dialogue when it comes down to bringing someone else in with a platform such as Warren Sapp or whomever else, Ray Rice or Urban Meyer or you know, you can continue to Google. You always have situations where men they lose control and they don't understand how to control themselves in a heated situation. And
All right, so
so
let me add this part, and I think this needs to be added to the conversation because I think this kind of like says some of what you're saying. By recruiting someone with a history of public allegations of gender bias violence, including domestic violence, they risk promoting violence rather than speaking out against it. In a statement to USA Today, it says, what is this? Say, okay, Sports Today by Violence Free Colorado, they risk saying that the violence is excusable if the player or coach is successful. I'll read that again. They risk saying that violence is excusable if the player or coach is successful. They risk undermining the public work CU has done to speak out against domestic violence. As advocates, we know the answer is not to ignore the allegations against Mr. Sapp, but to address them head on. I want to talk about that line. They risk saying that the violence is excusable if the player or coach is successful.
Hey, I'm gonna say something.
I,
What I want to say first, just real quick, Coach Lowry, man, I love your transparency, brother. Because sometimes people don't hear those stories, and that it can affect them, and how it affects them. I'm gonna tell y'all, and y'all know our build. It was short amount of time. Forced. I wasn't a cop for very long because I went out back on active duty. But let me tell y'all, those calls. I'm just real quick before I jump into that. I answered my first call was a domestic violence. It was in a call, and we were sitting there. Husband was sitting at the table eating nachos. Wife was just going ballistic. Anyway, start asking her stuff. The training officer asked, "Hey, is there any weapons in the house?" She says he's got one, and then so he asked the man where his gun was. He said in my pocket while he was just smoothly eating nachos. It was about to go south. And what it taught me was these things can go south quick. My point being, and I've seen others that I don't want to get into, but my God, And that's from women to men, women on women, men on men. It is domestic violence is no joke. So taking that in here is one thing. We already know it takes two things to make a pattern. Three gets definitely you have an established pattern, and you go on and on. And so what's happening probably with him is that they're going, okay, there is a pattern. And I'm not saying he's not reformed at all. Nobody can say that. What it's saying is that you have to understand, because folks, I gotta say this to you, is that Coach Prime has a brand, but Colorado has a brand that's got to last no matter how long Coach Prime is there. They have to protect that, whether we like it or not, or we like how they do it. So I think that when a state like Colorado, and I don't know their DV laws, but that's also probably driving it, is that as a state institution, they cannot afford. It's better to not take the risk than to take it, because now you would be kind of saying to certain people, or at least they would be perceiving it rather than you saying it, that, well, as long as the person can play, as long as they're good, as long as they've got visibility, then we ignore all that other stuff. And that's just not going to be more than likely what a college wants to do.
So again, I want to second what you said to Coach Lowry. I love and I appreciate your openness and your candidness. Thank you for sharing your story. Whenever we lose somebody, you lost a father, but your mother had to act, and she felt like she did what she did to save her own life. And we can't, we look at that. We have a situation right here that we're dealing with, and we want a coach on a team, but now we're dealing with the situation where, we have an example right in front of us, a young man having to go through that, and the young people that have to live through the situations that we're talking about and discussing it is making my heart heavy, because these type of things, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it makes me feel some kind of way. So we should talk about redemption. You see what I'm saying? We should talk about redemption. If we had a person go through a situation and say, okay, how important is redemption? When they say a line like, if he's successful, then that's pretty much saying that it was okay. How do you guys feel about that, Coach? I want you to address it, Coach Lowry. I want you to address that, because this is real to you. How coming from your POV, how do you feel about that line? Because can people be redeemed that are in a situation like this? Coming from
Well,
your vantage point.
well, my grandfather always told me.
Hold up. Before you get too deep, somebody, James Wooder said, "Where's the link?" You right at the top of your screen, guys. That's why I put it back on your screen. Join TLP Live at gmail.com is the link. I'm going to take it off the screen, but to call into the show, join TLP Live at gmail.com is the call in. You email that email, and I send you a link. That's how it works. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please, Coach.
No, we good. We good. We good. My grandfather always told me a hard, you know what, make a soft tail. And I dealt with it for a long time, and I just forgave my mama. I say like 4 years ago, and she was able to live in another state. She left and had a whole nother family, and I didn't get to see her when I was to college. And I carried those things with me throughout my childhood and my adulthood. And because I went through some therapy, I was able to see where I was holding on to things that kept me from evolving. And it's a touchy subject, and Coach Sapp do deserve redemption. Everyone deserves a second or a third chance. We shouldn't be so.
You said, hey, Coach, you said you just forgave your mom.
Yeah, I just forgave her 4 years ago.
Okay, let's go into that a little bit. Talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind. Okay, if you don't mind.
Okay.
When you say you just forgave her, what did she ever explain to you why she did it? How old were you when this happened?
So this happened 1982, and she never explained to me. I had to be an investigative reporter and put the pieces of the puzzle together. And I was there that night. I witnessed it all. But as a 2-year-old, I couldn't figure it out. But as over time, I'm living with my family that has a different name than mine, and I'm just like asking questions like, where's my mom? And they never told me, because I'm growing up with this family. I'm thinking this lady is my mom, which she's not. So they finally answered when I'm about 10 or 11, and they start telling me bits and pieces. And then I start spending time with my father's family. And that's when it all came out, spending time with my father's family, because they hated my mom for what she did. And so I never actually got to talk to my mom about it until I was probably like 22. And she sat me down and she explained some things, but she didn't really get into details. And then unfortunately, I got in trouble 7 years ago, and I had to be on house arrest. And this is when me and my mom got real close, because now I'm on house arrest and I lost everything. I was scrutinized, and I had to take a low road, and I say, Mom, I need to move in with you. And she like, man, I'm not gonna do probation with you. I say, Mom, I need you. I need you. I need you to come through for me. And so she came through for me, and we was able to talk about what happened. And so I didn't know my mom had broken bones. I didn't know my mom had a broken jaw. I didn't know the things that, everybody swept under the rug as a family. That's why you say we talk about subjects. That's why I love this platform so much. We talk about subjects that a lot of people don't want to talk about, and it's therapy for us. So I was talking to my mom, and she was telling me all the things she went through, and I started taking a retraction on how I viewed her in the situation, because I didn't know what she was going through. I didn't know she was a model in New York. I didn't know she graduated from Booker T. Washington High School. I didn't know that her father, which is my grandfather, where I got my last name, was an engineer. He worked with Cape Canaveral. He worked at the Space Center. I didn't know these things about my grandfather went to Columbia University in New York. I didn't know all these things. So I just knew the Fort Myers, the Florida down south way of doing things. And so when I got with my mom, and she was educated, and she was a scholar, and she was a model, I'm like, Mom, what was going on? She said, well, son, I got caught up in the Florida lifestyle. And back then, things was happening. We was drinking, we was smoking, we was partying. And my dad, he went to Vietnam. He didn't believe in those type of things, because he was fighting for our freedom, and he was fighting for a different ideas and ideologies. And my father.
Coach, one second, Coach. I don't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to keep the line of why I'm having you share your story, and this is the reason why I'm having you share your story, because there's always the other side of the story. And we're talking about Coach Sapp. We have an admiration for Coach Sapp, and some of the young men like Chitto have said the reason why they're coming to Colorado is because of the opportunity to be coached by Coach Sapp. But when we take a look at the past and why he may not be coming to Colorado, our admiration, some of us can feel like, hey, bring the guy on. He's already paid for his, sins, and how many times can he be redeemed? And you were about to talk about the redemption. And even with your story, you're saying everybody deserves redemption. So I'm gonna bring on Tim. I don't want him to wait too long in the waiting room. So just let me introduce Tim, and let me get his thoughts, and then I'll come back to you so you can talk to us about redemption. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Good
Tim
morning,
Smith,
everyone.
thank you for calling in.
Hey,
Dallas
how's it going, everyone? Hey, how's it going, Harry?
Good morning. How you doing, man?
What's good? What's good?
So you want to go ahead and share your thoughts before I go back to Coach Lowry, so he can give us or you can also answer the redemption thing. What about, should Coach Sapp, does he deserve redemption? That's for you, Tim. All right, so Tim's audio is not working unless it's working, and I'm not hearing him. Tim, you got to
He
unmute
on,
yourself.
he on mute.
All right, so all right, Coach. So he'll be back. Go ahead, Coach. You said he deserves redemption. Let me hear you elaborate on that.
Yeah, so what I was saying was, my father ideologies and my mom ideologies didn't mix. That's why I was trying to bring up try to bring us back forward with what was going on with Coach Sapp. We don't know what was going on with his situation and the situation that he's going through. They always talk about the forced trauma that happens when football players are colliding and the type of things that happens with their brain and the type of things that happen when you get in a situation and you can't cope with reality and you start to be irrational and you have what they call impulsive behavior where you just spaz out on people. And so that's what I learned over the years why I think people deserve a second chance because, sometimes in life, when you're dealing with certain situations, you don't know how to deal with them. And when you grow older, you put away those childish behaviors. So we can't keep a man down and our foot's on their necks because they made bad decisions 10 or 15 years ago. We got to treat a guy for what he's like right now. We got to stop. We got to stop bringing up what the man did or what a woman did 5 or 10 years ago. We're trying to like the guy in the comments said, if we're having problems with Sapp being a coach for an institution, he needs to go on a domestic violence awareness campaign. He needs to get ahead of the curve and he needs to show that he's an advocate against domestic violence. And these are the things that you nip in the bud when you have people that are naysayers that don't want to allow Coach Prime to evolve this great coaching staff with a guy that's a Hall of Famer. If you look at the guys that he's brought in, those are Sapp type of guys. That's why I like when you say, let's take a deep dive on these players and start. And I like when you said, let's go back and I need to go back and start researching and doing my videos of these players that we're bringing in because we're just speculating right now. Let's see what they did on film. And so when you bring these guys in that play like Coach Sapp, that have played like Coach Sapp, and you do an investigation on these players that's coming in, they're epitome of what he stands for. So that being said, I feel like, the institutions only sweep under the rug for the coaches that they want to be in the front for, to be in the media, to be the breadwinner of their organization. Like we know all what happened to Urban Meyer. We've seen what he was doing in the club, and he's married. But you still have him on Fox. It's different strokes for different folks, and it's a shame that we still have to do that as an urban community. We have to fight so hard, tooth and nail, to get the recognition what we deserve, or to get a second chance what we deserve. Because anyone without sin, I want you to cast that first stone.
Let me bring Tim back on. He's back on here. Man, you guys, this is not where the show was going today, but this is like, man, this is heavy for me. Hey, Mike, I thank you for the super chat. Another great show and panel. Harry B, thanks. You're welcome, Mike. I appreciate you. Hey, people can just share their thoughts, especially when you have people who are willing to be vulnerable. That's what healing brings to our community. Tim, are you back? Is your audio good?
Yeah, man. Sorry about that. Yeah, my audio should be good this time, man. How y'all brothers doing? And if there's any ladies
It's
on here,
heavy.
how
It's
y'all
heavy
doing
in the
too?
room right now, but it's kind of heavy right now. But go ahead, brother. Share your thoughts, man. What do you think about redemption? If you want to start there, or you can start from your first thought.
I well, I don't condone none of that, man. And I actually just went through something this past Wednesday, man, in Baton Rouge, where my first cousin, his daughter killed him and her sister. So
Yo, what is going on right now?
I don't condone any of that, but um, I also my
Was this
faith.
was this a domestic violence situation?
Yeah, man. It was yeah, yeah. And
Man,
argument and everything turned south. It just happened in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, this past Wednesday. You can Google it, honestly. Uh, but uh,
man, so sorry for your loss, brother.
oh yeah, man. But what I was gonna say, man, like I believe in redemption, and that just lies where my faith is at. Because Warren Sapp, he's a public figure, and a lot of people. I hate the term, "Oh, you're a celebrity," or "you're famous." In actuality, that's your occupation. Uh, but we didn't lived in that celebrity limelight for so long, it become common. But what has he been proven guilty of? Because it's he say, she say. But we so quick to hear that we quick to throw brimstones at an individual. But like one of the gentlemen just said, uh, it seemed like it tilts one way when it's certain individuals, and I hope y'all can read in between the lines of that, because you got one person that holds the highest office of the land, and he done a lot of things, but a lot of people have a tendency of turning a naked eye to it. But I feel like Coach Prime, he probably, I know he understands the allegations that are thrown out at Warren Sapp, because I can't say that he's guilty or nothing, because I haven't seen that he's been proven guilty of anything just yet. So I'm not gonna just automatically say, yeah, this man right here is a woman beater. I don't have any I don't have any proof of that. So
Mhm.
how can I cast stones on it? But that's just my opinion.
So I guess the this is very heavy, man. You sharing your story again, and just like Mike, Coach Mike, it's it's hard to move from this to, and the reason why it's hard is because I want I want people to know that even though we admire Coach Sapp and we want him to be at Colorado, there's always that second. There's always the people that are struggling and that had to deal with whatever violence were alleged, their reputations being ruined because he is a public figure, the things that they're still going through, the trauma that they had to deal with. I just want to let people know that that's real. It's not something that we're just going to be like, oh, because we like Warren Sapp, who cares? If he hasn't been found guilty, let's bring him on. It's very sensitive and it's very. I want everybody to know that there's two ways. But just like it was suggested, if is it possible to where if it's something that was in his past and he's dealt with it with by the law, he took a plea deal, um, he's dealt with these certain things. There have been highly profiled people that are in media, that are in our society, that have high profile jobs in the public, but there's a way for you to deal with it. Should we do a campaign to where he becomes an advocate for people who are struggling with domestic violence? And can that be a redemption thing where he gets to live his dream with Coach Prime by coaching his second, whatever his second part of his dreams are, because he's already lived his dream of playing. But can he be redeemed in that way? So
So
let me get
Harry,
Phil. Let me get
Harry,
Phil.
just
'Cause let me go to Phil because he's been waiting. He said he had a redemption thing. Unless Phil, if you don't mind him talking, then that's fine. But you've been waiting.
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. But in the article that you brought up, they did point out that he would need that you can't ignore domestic violence. You need to attack it head on. And I think
Mhm.
if that's what that particular group feels, and if the coaching staff or the decision makers at CU believe in it, then hey, let's have Warren Sapp sit down, have a round table, let them throw out whatever they want to throw out. And if they feel like, he's done a good job of showing some type of remorse and they give the blessing to bring him on, then so be it. Otherwise, I don't think this hire for a position coach is worth all the extra stuff that's going on, because we know that this is a very important year. And the last thing I'll say is I think it would be great if Warren Sapp was some type of advocate or spoke up about domestic violence and told his story. But you
Mhm.
always know somebody's gonna try to give pushback and say, well, he's only doing this because he wants to get the coaching job, not because he
Mhm.
actually shows any type of remorse for it. So you're darned if you do, you're darned if you don't. I just think whatever decision Colorado goes with, they just need to stick behind that decision. If they hire him on, give him all the support they can. If they don't hire him, just be honest and say, hey, this is why we didn't hire him. We're moving on to the next person on our list to try to bring somebody in to be the defensive line coach.
And DC, not DC, yeah,
Yes.
DC. I
Yes.
wanna I wanna ask this question why it's on my mind.
Okay.
Since Colorado is like such a lightning rod with the media right now, instead of running away from this hire, do you think that this would be a great hire to really, if they really care about domestic violence, do you think that this would be a great opportunity that they shouldn't run away from? They should embrace it, bring him on, and then do exactly what Phil just said, like use this opportunity to really advocate for domestic violence? Or is this something they just like, you know what, we don't want to touch it, let's just move away from it? What do you think?
I
You can
think they're
also start with your comment and then answer the question if you
right.
if you.
Well, I think that they're probably, if they're looking at risk reward, because they always have to have those things measured, they probably would say it's better for us to avoid it than address it. And one of the things I'm going to say is that on the flip side, let's say that Warren Sapp does come out and do that. Well, the problem he's going to run into is that while he might not be as subject to something criminally, he would have admitted to something which can get him civilly, which means they can still sue him in civil court. So it really is kind of almost you just got to make a decision of like being open and transparent and let the chips fall where they may. But there's still, even though the incidents are in the past, it
Mhm.
still would is a liability for him to say something. That's probably why he's not saying anything, because in the court of law, anything you say can and will be used against you. So you think about that you can give an ease to it, but I don't think that Colorado is willing to say, okay, we'll take you in and then we'll let you use our PR machine to deal with this. That right there really gets sticky. And I think that there was pointing out something where, again, we don't know what the policy is. Because again, a lot of people will sit back and say, well, that there was no conviction, even though he does have a plea. And I'm all for redemption. I think the thing is that from when you're looking at people at that level and the decisions they make and the board of directors and all that kind of stuff, we want them to have redemption, but that school probably is going to bypass it being under their watch. And honestly, I'm going to keep it real with you for Coach Prime. I don't think that he should. I think if I was advising Prime, all right, I'm just going to keep it real. I would say move on to something else, because this
Mm.
probably is not going to win. Because any little thing you have going on now, it's because even it's a small issue with it, everything gets magnified. Yes,
Mm.
I got what he said and I get all of that. But again, when you're sitting at these levels, again, you got to be careful what you say, because folks will run with it and it'll be a fire you can't put out. And he doesn't need that.
And I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 with what you're saying, because it, it it makes sense to not mar yourself into this type of situation, because it seems like the powers that be, because they want to see him fail so much, the second that this becomes public and he hires this guy, I feel like all of the line of questioning are going to be that. That's the first 50% of it. Every single line of questioning, no matter he can score, he can win the daggone national championship, is going to be that question. So And I think that's what that line in the that's what that little segment that was in there was saying. If he's successful, if this person is successful, then it makes it seem like this is okay. But the other 50% is like being an opportunist and saying, okay, I understand what DC is saying, where you can get a lot of things wrong, you can implicate yourself, but there's a way to do this. You can actually say, I was in a situation, and these women, these women came out and they said what they said, and we've dealt with it in this manner. And I'm trying to make sure that people understand that this is not okay. Whatever part that I played and everything that I've done to make these women come out and say what they said, I'm truly I'm truly sorry. I'm truly sorry to put these women in position that they felt this way, and but we've dealt with it. So I'm not a PR person or anything like that, and I don't handle these type of high level type of situations. But I know that if you're an honest person and you know that you really truly care about this issue and these women, you can use this opportunity to push this issue. You can use this opportunity to bless this issue, because domestic violence is something that it's hard to deal with, but you can actually advocate for the issue while in the same time giving Warren Sapp an opportunity for redemption. And if you want to piggyback on that, DC, you can, or I'll go to Tim Smith to piggyback on that.
Just real quick, I agree. Like I said, that's redemption. I'm all about redemption. I'm all about, even we all have made a past, and something I've had to go through in my life with stuff is that dealing with mistakes I've made, but then allowing God to say, hey, I can share my testimony and not to have the shame of it. And that's not an easy thing to do. But at the end of the day is, when you start getting into all of the headlines and stuff, you're right. The minute he says that, there are going to be there's going to be camera flashes and everything. So again, it's a delicate situation because everybody deserves redemption, but how they get the redemption, that do you want somebody to get it under your watch? And how do you want them to get it? And that's complicated. I have no answers. I'm just a solid answer. I'm just saying it probably is within the best interest of all parties involved to go do something. Let him go on a measured PR tour to revamp that image, and then maybe try it another time.
So, I mean, somebody's going to give Warren Sapp an opportunity to coach. And I wonder how, if it's not Coach Prime, how do they deal with it? Go ahead, Tim Smith, please, if you can.
Hey, I mean, I agree with everything that DC just spoke about. He actually took a couple of my pointers away from me, but I'm curious, did this take place while he was playing the game of football in the National Football League? Anybody
I'm
know?
not sure. It would seem so because he's
It
fairly
happened in
still young. He just
2015, so that
yeah he
was 9 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So my question, and I agree with. I feel like Coach Prime should just find another DC because you
well he's
only
not a
one.
DC. He wouldn't be a
I mean,
DC. He was a
well,
deep-
a
just a
lines
line
coach.
coach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
line
yeah, yeah.
coach. I feel like he should. Honestly, you only 1 year in. I understand Prime can handle all the backlash and everything, but his branding and everything. It's just too. It's too many. It's too many questions going to be coming toward the university, toward Dion, toward the players, and etc. But I'm just curious if it happened. These allegations took place while he was in the National Football League. What is it that the National Football League seen in order to give him a gold jacket? Uh,
That's a good point. Because
but
don't they look at those things? Don't the organizations
yes,
and the
they
people
look at
that
those
come after,
things.
they'll come after them and say, how can you make him a gold jacket when he's marred in these situations? That's an interesting point.
Exactly. And they advocate, the NFL advocates for this domestic violence. They totally are against it, but they also turn a negative eye sometimes depending on the individual.
Hey Harry, you asked if this happened while he was in the league. He was not in the league when this happened. It happened in 2015. He retired from the league in 2007, and then he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. So he got all the gold jacket stuff out the way before the
But
alleged
they can still
incident
strip
took
him
place.
though.
Excuse
They
They
me.
can
try to take
still take your gold
yeah, they
jacket.
took Bill Cosby stuff away, even his honorary degrees. They took all that stuff
Well,
away.
I mean, okay, now, but the Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame is different from a school giving somebody an honorary degree or honorary doctorate. All I'm saying is this happened after he was in the Hall of Fame, so clearly they're not too much worried about it because I've heard nothing come out about them even considering taking his gold jacket away from him. So I just want to put in context the timeline. So this happened after he played, and this was around the time he was working at the NFL Network. And when this came out, is when he was let go by the NFL Network.
Oh, okay. So the NFL Network didn't want no part of that, and so who should give this guy a chance? Like, who will give him a chance? And if they give him a chance, they would then have to deal with it. So, what's the best way to deal with this? Because somebody's gonna give him a chance. Believe you me, if he's going through the different steps of trying to redeem himself or better his life or anything like that, who should give this guy a chance? And let me bring I think out of my mind was here before. Welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate you calling in.
Hey, what's going on? Just to respond to the recent caller, well, he would not be uh kept out of the Hall of Fame because of his off the field issues. They judge you by your on the field issues. The Hall of Fame is judged by the writers. However, I want to talk about the hiring thing. This would be a perfect scenario and the perfect platform to hire him because number one, you're dealing with a lot of adolescents at times, even though they're young men. So not adolescents, but men. So you're gonna have a lot of those situations. So Warren Sapp would be the perfect person to speak to them about this phase in their life and the next phase in their life. Also, Coach Prime, he's perfect for this role because the servant leader. So if the questions would become asked as to why would you take a measure and bring on somebody with such, a past, he could say, well, number one, everybody needs redemption. Number two, has he addressed these issues in his past? And number three, he's on the platform to create a new future for himself. And, obviously, just like the players are on a no tolerance, um, they have a zero tolerance uh, policy. Same thing would be with the coaches. So, under what direction, under what leadership would be better for him to start this career than with Colorado with Coach Prime? So that's my take on it.
I think what DC and the people in the chat are saying is that it's this is such a fiery issue. This is such a firebrand or fire rod type of issue that if you touch this issue, you better understand what you're doing. You better understand this ain't gonna be no, you know, this ain't gonna be no. Oh, I just started a coaching situation. This is you are dealing with an issue that you're gonna be answering for in every question, in every press conference. People that are not even in that press room will start sending people to Boulder every game just to agitate Coach Prime. This is the media part that I know about. This is where I live at. This is my media world. There will be media companies, and you see the media rooms, right? At home games and stuff like that. Obviously, some companies they'll take the feed and they'll pay the fee or whatever to get that footage. For YouTube, we just jack it. But anyway, that's different. But but you will get companies that will start sending reporters, agitators, just to come and ask that question. That is their sole purpose. The Jason Whitlocks, the people that don't like Prime, they were sent reporters. They were sent people to start asking that question on every single press conference that Coach Prime has, and he would not breathe for it
But you know
because
what, Harry? I'm sorry, but real quick. You know what they will also do? It having worked in the music business, I understand that media aspect either. Is that could you imagine? I'm not going to call on nobody's platform, but you can imagine after the hire how somebody will go and maybe pay victims $10,000-$15,000 to come talk and say what happened. That right there, and then if they are able to be credible, relatable, you're not going to win that PR battle. There's no way around that. I get it. But once they put that victim there, and you know the way, I mean, Coach Lowry talked about Me Too, all that kind of stuff, and how serious is DV. Because, I mean, again, you've heard me, and I would say the calls that scared me to vote most were DV calls because they went left so freaking fast. And I'm just a side note, I want y'all to understand that, I've seen a woman that has left from a house, she when she's trying to get reestablished and to try to hide so the person won't find her, she don't have no pots and pans. The kids don't have toys. Maybe what they left, whatever they had on their backs. And so they have to establish a new life. And sometimes that life has to be done where that person can't find them. Because I can tell you of instances where the person found them and not only took her out, but took the kids out and then took themselves out. So this is serious. I mean, Coach Lowry is spot on, and the story is moving because. So that's what I'm saying is that the minute you stick that victim out there in the camera in front of them, and they don't even have to be telling it exactly how it occurred, it's just not the first teardrop. It is over, and you know that, Harry.
Oh yeah, and guess what? All these salacious lawyers, all these lawyers that want fame, want their 15 seconds of fame, they are licking their chops, and they would be licking their chops just waiting for him to say, "You're hired." As soon as they're hired, they will go out. They will pay victims plenty of money. You've seen it in the media. They will pay victims, even some people that are not victim, just to kind of muddy the field, just to muddy the lanes. They will pay people to come on here and say, he did this to me. And then it's going to be like, now I feel like that 50-50 thing that I said, I feel like I need to change it to now 80-20 because now just thinking about the fact that they will pay victims to come on here and start saying, this person did this to me, that will sully the water quickly. So you go ahead, out of my mind, you can respond, and then I'll bring East Coast Cav on. Go ahead.
I got a question for you then, because you're absolutely right. This would not be the platform to try to fight battle at this moment. At the same time, does it come to an end where false accusations destroy a male or a female's reputation? So, not saying that this should be the time to fight that battle. However, if they're going to bring up, every person in his past, and it could be false accusations, and they say, well, he did this to me, he did this to me. At what point do we as men, number one, and number two, a celebrity, an athlete, a person with money, at what point are they able to stand up and put an end to the false accusations and the character assassination?
So okay, so let me see. Somebody said if the cases have already been settled, there's nothing to sue for. Let me tell you about how the media works. I'm going to answer your question also. Listen, the lawyers. If you're talking about, if you guys can please mute, please, with the background, just mute, please. If you're talking about salacious lawyers, whether a situation have been settled, have you guys not watched any of the TVs, any TV where you see people, situations that have already been settled a long time ago, as soon as they know, because Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, if you don't understand how big this story will be, Coach Prime is the hottest thing always spinning. This dude sneezes and the media catches the sneeze. I'm trying to tell you, the second this becomes public, it doesn't matter if the cases have been settled. There will be lawyers, salacious lawyers that want that 15 seconds of fame, and they will find somebody to say something, whether it's true or not. But anyways, that was that. And let me bring on East Coast Calf, and he can maybe answer your question or add to the conversation. East Coast Calf, welcome to the show, man. Thank you for calling. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you for having me, man. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We
Shout
can
out
hear
to
you.
the panel and shout out to the chat. And shout out to the trolls. You keep the bills paid, baby. We love you too. But honestly, I'm gonna say this real quick because the stock market's booming right now, so I got to get back. But
All right.
the the truth is, they should go on and hire Warren Sapp. Not because I like Warren Sapp. I personally don't trust him because of Jason Whitlock. But the reason I say hire Warren Sapp, they're gonna strike. They're gonna come and they're gonna do all their protesting, and in a month they're gonna get over it. Okay, come on. Look at Michael Vick. How many times? How many dogs did he turn into ballpark Franks? Like, come on, Michael Vick then killed dogs and electrocuted him. He went to prison. He came right back into the NFL. Come on, beating some women. Now I ain't saying is right, but come
Be
on,
careful
if
how
he
you
can get a
be
pass.
careful how you say that, man. When you're saying beating some women, you're kind of saying it like it's not that serious when you say it
No,
like
no,
that.
no, no. I'm
Like,
not
oh,
saying that.
beating
No,
some
I
women.
got you. What I'm
I just want to
saying
correct
is,
you, man, because this is my show, and I want to make sure that my guests treat this top topic seriously. This
yes,
is not a
it's
situation we're not
I
gonna
get
do it like that.
I got you. But what I'm
All right.
saying is they're gonna strike, they're gonna get all upset, and they're gonna get in a heap. But then after a month, they'll get right over it. It'll be back to normal. The only thing is they're gonna have to win games. They can't have another 4-8 season because if they have another 4-8 season, they're gonna bring this right back up again. Oh, they hired Warren Sapp, the wife beater. They're walking. See, they're going in Paris and walking down the aisle with purses. They're gonna bring all this. Got it. So they gotta win. If they're gonna bring Warren Sapp on, they gotta win. Yeah, let the heat come down, but you know what? It'll die down.
Hey, I
And
have some pushback on
yeah,
that, man.
yeah, Tim, how do you feel about? Well, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead with the pushback, then I ask my
Uh,
question.
the uh, when it comes to the domestic violence, man, like on both sides, I don't. This story is not gonna die down overnight. Uh, Not only that, wins and losses doesn't even matter, but you have those young men. We haven't spoke on this yet either, but you got young men that you're trying to recruit to your program. Who's to say they haven't seen domestic violence? So you may be trying to get a player, and he's turning around and say, "Hey, you know what? I can't come to that institution because I lived through something that one of your coaches on your coaching staff has been accused of." So you open up a whole nother can of worms there as well. So I
And
don't
get
think that it's
and
gonna die down just like overnight.
no, I know
Like,
it's not going to die down. It's gonna. I'd say within a month or so, they're gonna finish protesting, and guess what? They'll be right back, business as usual. I'm
yeah,
not
but I'm
undermining
not.
because listen, my mother was a victim of domestic violence until
Sorry
she
to hear
snapped.
that.
Until she snapped one day, and had enough. My father tried that BS. But what I'm saying is these type of things, these scandals happen all the time. There's going to be a bunch of protests and marching. They're going to put it in the media, try to smear them, and then after a month, and it starts dying down, then the business will be back to normal.
So,
Hire
so
that
East
man.
Coast Cab, I got a question. I got a question for you because the way that you're addressing it, right? Being somebody that's actually going through it, like a couple of members of our panel, why are you so dismissive of it? Like, why is your approach the way that you're handling it?
It's not dismissive. The thing is that what I'm saying is this. I'm letting you know that is wrong and it needs to be addressed. But if the man has already paid his dues, they need to hire him. Yes, they'll have some pushback. Yes, it'll be some problems. But as long as they win games, eventually it'll all die down. This stuff dies down. Like I said, look at Michael Vick. He killed animals. He went to prison. He's a convict. But yet he's able to go back to NFL and play football again and do everything he was able to do. Now, you know what I'm saying? What's worse, killing people or beating them?
Well, no,
And you know how folks
the
are
reason
about
why
their
I think
animals.
Both are worse.
Well,
the
I mean,
reason
both are
why.
worse. Yeah, both are worse. But look, he went to prison. Warren Sapp didn't. He don't even have a record.
So
So what
I
I'm
want to
saying
answer.
is, hey,
Listen, listen,
if he
listen.
can get a
East
second
Coast
chance,
Cap.
why can't Warren Sapp?
Okay, so listen, I want to answer you and Marie at the same time. This I hear the side of you saying, you know, you're kind of like saying this is how the world is, this is what happens. But Marie, I want you to understand this is not about people agreeing with me. I said this in the beginning of the show. Maybe you just joined. I said this in the beginning of the show because this is a very sensitive issue. This is not an issue where we always look at if we admire somebody like a Warren Sapp, we want them to be on the team, but we don't. We always oftentimes people don't deal with the other side of it, the victims. They don't deal with the victim side of it because we admire that person. We forget about the victims, the stuff that they had to go through. So this is not about me agreeing or disagreeing with somebody or me saying, "Oh, I'm pushing back on East Coast Kev because he doesn't agree with me." Why are you even thinking that in that vein when I'm trying to make sure that we have a balance, that we understand how important the situation is, to where we're just not like, you know what, hire Warren Sapp, you know, this is gonna blow over once we start winning. I just wanted to make sure that we deal with this as sensitive as it is, so that the victims understand that this is a situation that there are victims on this panel too. So the victims understand that what they went through was important. That it's not just our admiration and love for Coach Sapp or for Colorado, that we're just gonna say, oh, just who cares? Like, you know, he being on some women. Who cares? I want to make sure that we answer both sides of it. That's why I'm doing the way that I'm handling it. That's why I'm doing it this way. I say one side of it, I say why he should be hired, and then I allow a panel to address the fact that there are issues that people deal with when it comes to domestic violence. So go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
That's all I
Oh,
wanted to say, man. I want everybody else to have the floor. I don't want to be selfish,
Yep.
but yeah, all I'm saying is if he can, I'm not, like I said, be clear. I'm against victims of being assaulted. I support them. You know what I'm saying? So that is wrong to hit any. I think everybody should keep their hands to themselves, men and women. Let to be also fair. We don't know how it went down, and to have it come up again. Yes, it's going to be some flack, but I think as long as he wins, as long as and it's eventually going to die down. I say within a month or two, it'll die down.
yep.
You
So
know how
yeah.
people
So
Hey,
listen. One thing, you know how people are about their dogs. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I brought up the Michael Vick thing because they let that thing go for years, and eventually he was excommunicated from that or exonerated from that, and he was still going on live networks. He was still playing football, and things went on. What I'm saying is, time will go on, and then people will forget about it as long as he's winning. Dion needs to win this year.
yeah, it just I understand what you're saying. It just feels and seems insensitive when you say like, "Yo, they just need to win." That hits a little hard for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Especially when we got people on the panel that have gone through some situation like that share their stories. For you to say like, "Yo, it's gonna go away." I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. Obviously, eventually people do forget. You know, if you're successful, but that was something that came up in the article where it says if this person is successful, then um, it makes it feel like this is okay. It puts a stamp on domestic violence. If if the coach goes on to be successful, then it puts that stamp on domestic violence. So that's why I'm like, does it really put a stamp on domestic violence? Out of my mind, you wanna touch on that?
Hey, can I say one thing real quick before
Go ahead.
you go to out of my mind,
Yeah.
Harry?
Go ahead. Go
Uh,
ahead.
to East Coast Cab, Michael Vick had to do the work. Michael Vick had to do some work before he was able to get back on those platforms as well. Just want to throw that in there.
And he should do the same.
Right. And that's exactly what I said to the person in the chat right there. Like, we don't know. Like, for instance, if he wasn't applying for this job, we wouldn't really know anything about his life outside of whatever he's doing when he's on television. So now that he's on this stage, whatever he's done in between that time period and today, he'll be able to tell whoever asks him, what have you done? Right now, everybody's assuming that he's done nothing. On the other side of it, I think even worse than the accusation, because the accusation is an accusation. But the thing that he was accused of
Well, I don't
is
think these are just accusations, though. These were like these like
no,
people. That's been,
I'm saying they said he wasn't found guilty. So when I heard, I remember when it happened, and I was like, damn, that's nasty. Excuse me. I was like, man, that's nasty. So that's even worse than the non guilty verdict. You feel me? But at the end of the day, we're talking about coaching and whatever he's done to fix his affairs to be able to be in this position. Because number one, most people think that Coach Prime is a good judge of character. So to assume that Coach Prime, number one, didn't know this happened, didn't have a conversation with him to say, look, are you good? Because if you're not good, I don't even need to be having this conversation and bringing it to the public like that. So
let me ask this question then. Let me put this out, and I want to bring Coach back in. Coach Lowry, are we assuming that these people were naive to this situation where they didn't know that Coach Sapp had these issues, and anything that Coach Prime touches is a fire rod? So how is it that they didn't get ahead of this or did not bring this up before it made public news? Like, are they not vetting these people before they even think about saying stuff publicly, Coach Lowry?
No, what happens is you have amendments, so you have a right to remain silent. And so what happens is when you don't have your due diligence with your investigation, you can't speak on these things until you know possibly what's going on with this person's criminal or personal information. And back to what we was talking about, Coach Prime knew what went on with Sapp because you got to remember Sapp was working for NFL Network as bunches of a couple more guys that got fired from the NFL Network when the Me Too movement came along. And so they knew it, but you have a statute of limitation in place with institutions such as someone put in the chat that he can't have a domestic violence situation within the last 10 years. And if you track the 10 years from 2015 to 2024, it's only 9 years. So he's still in that limitational reference. And so, but I want to piggyback on this. Urban Meyer was in a lot of different things dealing with domestic violence, aggravated assault, with his players that played for him at Florida, as well as when he went to Ohio State. But I'm not agreeing with East Coast Kev, what he said, but they do sweep things under the rug for certain people. And it's a shame that because urban people get in a little bit of trouble or a little bit of scrutiny, they magnify it so much. And that's all I want to say.
All right, so I want to turn my attention to the show. I'll let it go. You guys can please mute yourselves. Yeah, we're going a little bit over our 1 hour allowance, but any final thoughts? Did we lay this to bed? Did we put this down? Did we answer this correctly, either in the chat or on the panel? Anybody can, if you have any other thoughts, so we can just lay this down and leave it alone.
I think it's gonna come back up if they do hire him, like I said. But hey, like my brother just said, this stuff happen all the time. I mean, Dana White just got through slapping his wife on TV. He's still in the UFC. So like I said, the only time will tell if they do hire him. That just means they got to win because all of this will come back if they go 4-8 again. And I state my piece and thank you for your time.
Anybody else want to share their thoughts on this issue before I move on to the DC situation, the DC question?
Yeah, let me just say, when it comes to this with Warren Sapp, I think number one, it benefits those kids. It benefits the program, being that the state has that particular policy and they're advocating for this particular topic. So it's very good that they do hire him because number one, if he, now I say if he has rectified his affairs, then it's good to hire him because, like you mentioned earlier about redemption, you can't be a country of second chances, and then when a person has done what he needed to do to fix his problems, you say no, we don't want you to succeed after you fix your problems. So that's where I stand on it.
I'm gonna say, and I'll say this as we move on, is that I get it, and I totally get redemption. I'm just telling you, having set, at them type of tables and how they go about making decisions. Even in the article, they talked about that the school is not aware. Coach Prime, we don't have anything else to say, and Coach Prime has nothing to say, which says to me is I'm distancing myself. We're going to keep our mouth closed and keep moving forward. So that to me is telling because it's almost to a point where they kind of saying Coach Prime ain't got nothing to say about this. And that generally it may be told from president or somebody way up at that level, which is the president of this, that we're moving on. And more than likely, we'll move into part of what's probably also going on is that the reason why there isn't a replacement or discussion because the new DC may have a hand on that.
Mm.
Hey, I
So
do
real,
want to say this. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, sir.
No,
I was
I
just
was
gonna
just going to make this real quick. I was just going to say before we move on that we all have fallen short of the glory of the Lord. So with that, I mean, I look at redemption, but uh, and everybody deserves a second chance.
mm.
One more thing I want to say before we move on. Before we move on,
One second.
Okay.
One second, coach. Especially like you said, if they're if they're putting in the work and they're genuinely trying to redeem themselves and they're saying, hey man, I know I messed up, not necessarily, confessing to guilt or anything. Just say, listen, I put myself in a situation because, like you said, the word of God always says, don't put yourself in a situation where your good can be spoken evil of. So it's if you come out and you're genuine about redemption and you say, listen, man, I made some mistakes in my past and or in 2015, and unfortunately I didn't really want this you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry that this happened to these women and I want to move forward. I want an opportunity to be able to set the course or to change my course. I think the school can look at that and whatever their policies is may be able to be lenient. I don't know, but go ahead, coach.
All right. What I want us to realize in the chat as well as all over the globe, because we got a host from Liberia. We got to remember that we cannot continue to keep slander in our hearts for anything. If it's domestic violence, if it's racism, if it's feminism, if it's modernized thinking, if it's religion, if it's color or creed, we have to continue to remember that we have to get the slander and the bitterness out of our hearts if we want to rise as a people. All right. And one more thing, you got to remember that everyone has not lived perfect on this earth. And we all make mistakes and we fall short. I had to remember that. Just like I told you, Harry, I had to forgive my mama 4 years ago. And it took a situation where I was confined in the house and I had to reflect who I was. Once you start running the streets and you live in your life and you don't address things that are very prominent to your heart, it becomes sickening to you. You lose your values, your worth, your ethics. And once you start reflecting on who you are and you start reading your good word and it starts embracing your life, you start to rethink how you view life. So we in the chat, we need to start throwing stones at people and start reviewing who we are as a people and what we represent. And we can't make it out of this place if we don't have a pure heart. And we have to look at this from a different perspective. Yes, I lost my mom. Yes, I lost my father. But today I have a relationship with my mother and I have forgiven my father. So people do deserve redemption.
Amen. Well, good. Well said. Well said, brother. Ron Tate, welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in. Your thoughts. You can go ahead with your thoughts on this issue before I move on to the next issue.
Well, yeah, Harry, you know I've been listening. Just haven't been able to call in. One thing I'm confused about was Warren Sapp charged and convicted of assault.
I think he has some plea deals. I believe that's what people are saying in the chat.
He had a plea, but there's, I mean, I hear people talking about it, but there's no one that has produced a public document that says he took a plea deal and he had probation, completed the plea deal, and the charge went away or anything like that.
Because if we go deeper into the article, I think what you're trying to get at, I understand, but I think if we go deeper into the article, where I try to save people from reading the entire article, is that yes, the situations that were put in the chat, those were the situations. But the article is there. Let me give people the article. This is usatoday.com, guys. So if you see on your screen, the article is there. You can go read the entire article. It kind of lays it out. So what some of the questions you have are in that article, in this article on your screen right now.
Okay.
It's not just some allegations they just brought up and they're like, oh, we're not going to get Warren Sapp. There's some strong allegations. It's not it's not loose as you're thinking.
Okay.
Or at least your line of question goes.
Well, I'm talking about, was law enforcement involved? Is just
yeah. I mean the government was involved. So that's what you mean,
right?
Because I mean, for you to take a plea deal, who's giving you a plea with? I ain't giving him no pleas.
No, but what I'm saying, what I'm getting at is, if
the law
this was rectified, this has been rectified back in what, as late as 2015.
I guess go ahead, just make your point, because I think
okay. My point is this:
we don't know.
If this was any other coaching situation, this wouldn't be an issue. Warren Sapp has just been sucked under the microscope of being associated with Coach Prime as a coach. When Warren Sapp visited Colorado and Coach Prime was talking about Warren Sapp and his engagement with the D lineman at that time, this article wasn't an issue. Those allegations weren't an issue at that time until he went through the process of putting himself in a position to be a college coach. And I just think at an HBCU or any other
what happened to his audio? Did he go away? Does anybody know what happened to him?
It looks like he dropped.
I don't, but here's the thing I want to read to you real quick. It's a site. It says that it's a report. It said the former Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive lineman, this is from the Las Vegas assault, but I'm not going to say the name, of 5 years. That's because it was, the DV is not just a random person. This is actually someone. There was a girlfriend of 5 years grabbing her arm, biting her finger. This is alleged. Make sure we say this, alleged. Throwing her to the floor.
Right?
Yeah, yes. Biting her finger, throwing her to the floor, and stomping on her head. The former Tampa Bay Buccaneers lineman will have to pay $2,895 in fine, go through 6 months of DV counseling, and complete 48 hours of community service, in addition to being required to stay trouble-free for a minimum of 6 months and have no contact with the person. And then it talks about another incident. So the thing is that happens. Like, remember y'all told me when I was telling you about, hey, you can get somebody can be arrested for a DUI, or let's say get arrested for a drug charge. And if they'll go through the counseling or something like that, then it can go, not the DUI, let's scratch that. Let's not use that example. Let's just use it, let's say you got caught with drugs. You can go through a drug rehab program, do your stuff, counseling, all that community service, and the charge will be dropped. So you still had to do something. And it's not, I get it. I believe in second chances. I thank God who's given me that redemption. But this is that's just what the facts say.
So, I mean, thank you for sharing that, because I don't want people to get lost in the sauce. This discussion is not necessarily trying to say who's right, who's wrong. All right. So let me bring on Ron back. Ron, welcome back, sir.
Yeah, I'm back. I appreciate that. Was that
That was
tennis
DC.
coach?
DC tennis is not here today. That was DC.
Oh, okay. DC. Oh, the closet hater. I mean, I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
I love you, Ron. I'll take it because I got love for you, brother. So keep on.
I love Alabama. I love Alabama too.
They lost their coach. Now they got Washington's coach.
Wow.
So are all hearts settled on this issue?
Well, let me speak first, since I'm the last to arrive.
Okay.
Mine is, and I hope I really hope Coach Prime hires Warren Sapp as a defensive line coach. I really do. And because I think he was very much aware of what was going on. My bottom line is I just hope he hires him.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, this is not a situation where we're like, oh, he's not hired because he's domestic violence. The article that I have on your screen right now, the PR person is just saying that Coach Prime is not going to discuss this. So Coach Prime is he's following the rule of the school right now. Don't touch it. Don't say anything about it. So it's not to say that this guy's not going to be hired or there's no room for discussion on this issue. So it's possible that maybe, like I said in the beginning of the show, they're working out whatever issues. Maybe they're bringing people to the table. They're bringing people to the table. The leaders that will press this issue, maybe is advantageous to bring them to the table and just have a conversation and say, okay, this is what we are doing, or give us your advice. What would you suggest? How we handle this, and what would please everybody on both sides, because we want Prime to have his coach. So maybe the school's doing that, and maybe we will see Warren Sapp come and be a line coach. Maybe he'll be a position coach. We don't know what the specific position was, because obviously the PR person is trying to be careful on what they say so that nobody will bring this up, because it's nothing official. This is the best. This is the best road to follow when it comes to the media, because once you say that, now the other guys can't ask no questions. They can't touch it, because
Right.
You've come out and you've emphatically said this is what it is. If you leave it open, they're gonna bombard you with questions. And Jason Whitlock's, they will send their minions. They will hire people just to agitate you. So if all hearts are settled, let's end this with we got 15 minutes on the show. I give an extra hour because this was a deep topic, but we just 1 hour, Fridays, Mondays, and Fridays, guys. Just to remind you guys, why don't we have a DC yet? What the problem is? Did we not? And don't get upset for holding Coach Prime, for holding him accountable. In that meeting, did he say in a couple of days now, or in a couple of weeks now? But hasn't it been that long? Why we ain't got a DC yet?
So I got a question, Coach Lowry, and then because Ron played, and anybody else. So all right, so the rules are with the DC. What I understand, the DC, that the DC is going to roll in on the most of the players that are there. So my question is going to be, okay, because remember I talked about, like, when Alpha Rule was on the show, we talked about comms, communication. And I want to know, just from Coach and Ron and anybody else, is that, all right, so if I come in, let's say February, and now I have my system that I got to teach to everybody, because they might not be in the same system, terminology, all that good stuff. how is that going to give them enough time? Because again, you're not rolling in with staff that y'all already are talking the same language. I've got to teach you, even though I understand schemes and stuff may be the same. I got to teach you what I call these plays. How does that work? And will that be a positive, a negative, or a neutral?
Well,
This
The
is
coaches go ahead. The
Ron.
coaches can and the players can answer that question. Go ahead.
okay, so some language is universal. Some terminology is universal. We got to not disagree with this. There are at least 2 or 3 coaches there with defensive coordinator experience. If you go and check the coaching experience in Wikipedia, you will see how many coaches on his staff has defensive coordinator experience. So what happens is, like Coach says, he only want to bring in a guy because he has all his other guys. So with that being said, the terminology might be the same, but you might run a different scheme. You know what I mean? So you have experience on that staff that has defensive coordinator experience. So you can't hire within, but like Coach, we know Coach like to do a lot of marketing, a lot of splash. He might want to hire somebody from the NFL with like don't want to put it out there, but like Ron Rivera said, he would love to be the defensive coordinator at Colorado Buffaloes.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Ron Rivera from the Washington Commanders, who was just fired.
Correct.
He said that.
Yes. Pull the
Who
article up.
Who reported that?
Pull the article up.
Who reported that?
I don't know who reported, but I seen it. Pull the article up. It should come up.
How you gonna put that on me? You the one who brought it up.
I can pull it. I can pull it up. I can pull it up. I can pull it up.
Rory, hold on here. Ron Rivera, Colorado. Can anybody corroborate this story? Don't be dropping gems and then trying to put me on. Hold on here. Anyways, if anybody can find that article, let me move to somebody else on the comments while we find that article. And if you find it, please send it to either jointlplive@gmail or hottipsfortlpsports@gmail.
I think Ron was going to say something.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ron. Are you still here, Ron? If you're mute, unmute. Oh, Ron is out of the building. Let me bring Ron back into the building.
Here I am.
Go ahead. You was outside of the building. I forgot.
Yeah.
you got
He
disconnected.
keep kicking me out, man.
Yeah, right. Stop
Hey,
playing with me.
Hey, listen. The only, to A gap, B gap, C gap, smash, slant. I mean, things like that. If at that level, at the FBS level, you've heard all of those terminologies. That's nothing new. So when a DC comes in and he understands the intellect of the players that he's going to be dealing with at that level, he understands that I'm sure the coaches and the players are very familiar with the terminologies, the various terminologies that they had to deal with from little league, middle school, high school, on up. So it's not an issue with a DC coming in there. And one other thing that Coach Prime said, that he was taking his time because he was waiting he didn't say wait. He said he was being patient through the process because of the NFL situation and the coaches that are moving around. He was waiting and promised that it's going to be a professional. So whether it's a professional FBS coach that's going to be a DC or a professional from the NFL. So
Can I ask
his
the panel a
explanation is
question?
that he's trying to get a staff that'll prepare his players, that will allow his players to learn how to play at a professional level.
Just let me remind Capio that in that well of media video, I'm not sure if you guys saw the video, but I played the video on the live show, I think about a week ago. In that video, he also said in a couple of weeks he wants to get somebody in here. Am I not correct that he said that? Did I miss that? Because did you guys not hear that?
Well, he did, Harry B, but I think you got to get up to speed, Harry B. He changed that.
Oh, okay.
He said now I'm being patient, and he explained why.
Oh,
He
we're
gave
being
his reason
patient.
on why he was being patient, because he wanted some. Like I said, he said that he wanted someone professional, and he was waiting because of the games that were still being played and the
Okay. So
moves
so
that were
he's
still
waiting for
being.
after the playoffs, then he'll choose this person.
Well, I believe so,
Okay.
because
All
of
right.
the
Yo,
because of the moves. Like Washington has a position open, New England, and a couple other teams. So I think he's waiting to see what's going to fall down to the FBS level after the professionals take their pick.
Okay, so I stand corrected. He said he. So if he said after the playoffs, then I would stand corrected. Go ahead, Phil.
yeah. So my question to the panel and to anybody listening, do you think that the DC that comes in has to have NFL experience for this team to be successful? Because while I understand the NFL is starting to run more college style schemes on offense, they're still two very different games. So I'm just wondering, do you guys think that the DC has to be an NFL guy for this team to be successful next year?
Well, in my opinion, I think it goes more towards recruiting, because, as you said, the schemes that NFLs are using, the creativeness is coming from the Power Five level. The creativeness of these defenses and some of these offenses is coming from that level. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the minds of those professional coaches, not at all. But I just think that I'm sorry.
I think it will complement Shermer. I think Shermer if Shermer is coming in to implement his NFL style offense, I think the DC and the OC should be in lockstep, understanding what both are needing and what both are looking at. It complements him, but does he have to be? I don't think so. You don't have
No,
to come from the NFL, not this year, in order for you to be successful. Like we don't have to wait until somebody says, "Oh, I'm not coaching here." To like, are we assuming that all of the coaches that are coaching currently are going to be fired, or what are we looking for? Like, are they all going
I
to be fired?
I just think it
I
doesn't
don't
have
know.
to be
I
a
don't know why a
professional.
guy would decide to. I'll say this: if a guy already has a defensive coordinator job in the NFL, I don't know if there are many guys that currently have a job that have left and went to the college ranks. Because usually it's guys starting off in college and they want to work their way up to the NFL. So I rarely, if never, have seen somebody who currently has a job decide to step down to take a college job. So if he's waiting for the NFL season to be over with, it seems like he might be waiting for somebody to leave
Who's
a position.
no
So, but
somebody? You said that, but I think he's waiting for somebody who's already spoken to him because
that's what I'm saying.
these
I'm,
people
I'm
know their fate, so they know what's going on. They know what their organizations are saying. So if he's waiting, because most of the time people don't go this deep into the playoffs to be fired.
and that's my point. I don't understand how
Divisional
a
playoffs. This is
person
it.
a per but my point is, why would somebody who already has a job in the NFL leave that position to now be a defensive coordinator in college? I'm simply saying you don't see that happen very
Oh
often.
no.
So I'm
Oh no,
so
no,
I'm
no. I think
wondering, who is he trying to get in the NFL that will be losing the job after the playoffs?
no, I don't think this is what I think. I don't think he's trying to get a DC from the NFL. I think he's trying to get a coach from the NFL that maybe not be a DC. I don't know that he's directly going after a DC to be his DC in college. If that makes sense.
So
I
okay,
think
so
he's
that
trying
means
to,
you're saying a current coach would leave a head coaching position in the
not a
NFL.
head coaching position, but like somebody, because
So maybe a DB coach in the NFL that's
yeah,
in the playoffs. Okay. In that case,
yeah,
then I could see that. But if we're talking about somebody who currently has a DC position, I don't see that happening. But sure, I can give you that. Yeah, position coach or analyst in the NFL. Sure, I can give you
yeah.
that.
I think, yeah, I don't know that he's definitely trying to go after a DC that has a job. I don't know that that's the actual case. I think he's just trying to get an NFL coach, either an analyst or somebody who knows the job. And it now that you like you just made my brain go, huh? Wait, oh, okay. I think what's happening is he's already talked to somebody, because now if we don't have a DC right now, and he's still waiting, because we just finished what the the division, right? Now we're going to the championship, right? And then after the
Mhm.
championship, we got the Super Bowl. So those people are not, usually when you get these four teams or those two last teams, they don't move too many people after that. Those people, their contracts are renewed because it did such a good job in this season. Am I right or wrong? Y'all can tell me, Coach. And what do you think about that, Coach? Because I mean, they don't move people if they're doing such a good job, right? Or you can answer this
Only if
too.
they hire up.
Oh, okay.
Only if they hire up. Only if they hire up.
So if they have any positions that move up, then one person may become available because of that vacancy.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, at this point, I'm like, it's if it's not coming this week, like we're talking like the championship now. So are we going after somebody in those four teams? Do we? No, nobody. We don't know, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. All right, so we'll leave
Hey,
it there.
Harry,
Yes, sir. Go
I
ahead.
I think Coach Prime and is going after the mastermind behind a DC. And for some odd reason, uh, I'm thinking that he may be trying to get the Dallas Cowboys DC. I hear some people say a DC is not going to come from the NFL and drop down to be a DC in college. But I do know Dion has a serious relationship with the Cowboys organization. And by me living here and knowing the some of the people with the Cowboys organization, because my daughter dances for a dance competition that's affiliated with the Cowboys organization, I could possibly see it happening. But I'm just speculating too.
Let me ask y'all this question, and then we'll end here. It's Pat Shermer's playbook already circulating in the locker room?
I'm
Anybody
You
not
know?
I'm
know,
not 100% sure about that because during this particular part of the season, only the um only the training staff and like the fitness staff has
Mhm.
access to the players. I think around spring camp is when the coaches can actually get in there and actually start coaching. So
so
right
what
now it's
what
all conditioning, so they probably won't have the playbook going out just yet.
so what happens is the players will get a abbreviation of the plays, and they'll get to do player style practices. Well, the players are in charge of the plays that the coaches sent down through the strength and conditioning coaches. Because just like you just said, the coaches can't coach right now. They're in strength and they're winter conditioning, but they do get the plays sent down, and they can start implementing the plays right now.
Well, not necessarily coaching. I guess the question is more so, you know how you got to memorize the playbook. You know how you have to start learning the playbook. So you give them the playbook, so that they can start familiarizing themselves with the X's and O's and who's going this route, who's going that route. That's not something that is that a rule for the NCAA? Does anybody know off the top?
I mean, why
They
would you
have
want to give your playbook to the locker room right now? Because some of those guys may decide to leave after spring.
Well, I mean that's going to happen anyway, right? Because the portal's open to anybody until grad, right? So they can leave any at any point. So
They're going to
I'm
be
just
running
saying because
concept. They're going to be running concept plays. They're not going to have the original playbook because that only get issued out into the spring. But they're going to have concept plays that are made up to give to the strength and conditioning. Strength and conditioning going to give it to the quarterbacks, and they're going to run a 7-on-7 abbreviation, or they're going to run some of the, the plays that are set up on you. If you go back and watch Well Off, and you watch when the spring started, you
yeah.
see, or when the winter conditions start, you see that the offensive coach was the quarterbacks, and they had the plays up, and then you had the scout team quarterbacks holding the plays up, and then they would break out of the huddle and they would go run the plays.
Okay. So around the spring, like around March, we should start expecting the playbook. You're saying?
Yeah.
These are questions. These are questions, guys. Because not everybody in this community knows football like we all tend to think. We're not all like astute on football
Well,
and the rules and regulations. I'm doing this for a reason.
well, they're having meetings right now. They're just not doing installs. They're showing different things that they see on video. They're bringing them up to speed of how they want to run their sets. And they're doing winter conditioning right now, where it's all strength and conditioning and eating right, preparing right, getting the treatment, testing, all those things. But like I went through the situation. So what I'm trying to tell you, there's an abbreviation of the playbook. You don't get the actual playbook until the season starts. Spring season starts and fall season starts.
Oh, okay. So like X-Men said, late February, this should start expecting the playbook. So okay, so now I'll ask you this question, and the DC that's coming in, they're do they usually bring something they already have from where they were coaching, or is this something that they're tailor making to Colorado? And the reason why I ask that is because don't they need time to be able to put that together?
No, like he said earlier, everything is unisons, calls, formations, sets, um, responsibilities. Now it depends on what they're gonna run. Like a lot of guys say they like the 3-3-5 or the 3-5-3 or the 4-3 or the 5-3. It depends, or the 4-4. It depends on what you basically design your defense off the kind of players you have.
Right. That's why I asked the question. If you're designing off the players you have, then do you think the people he's targeting right now are gonna have that ready by the time he chooses them?
Well, with the way Warren Sapp has been involved, I think they're going to run some type of Tampa 2, and they're gonna run something where they have like block bully and Mari McNeil taking out the one and A and B gaps, and then they're gonna have speed rush ins getting up the field, and they're gonna have three linebackers, and the rest going to be secondary. So I just see a lot of Warren Sapp hands on this defense. I don't know if he's going to be the coordinator. I don't even know if he's going to get in because of the statute of limitation with the institution of what they have to get in school. But I do see a two-shell high safety look with three linebackers instead of the defense they ran last year, which was a 3-5-3.
Hmm. All right, guys. Well, I only have three more people left on the panel, so let's get your final thoughts because we are 5 minutes over our allotted time. So, Phil, so real. Let me have your final thoughts on today's show. It could be anything we discussed.
Yeah, man. Everybody deserves a chance at redemption. Maybe Sapp will get it at Colorado, maybe not. But hopefully, his story can help other young men not be in a situation like he was in. And then, lastly, with the DC search, I would much rather find out who it is sooner than later. But Dion always has a plan, and you just have to kind of wait and see what happens. So, I wish him the best in his future endeavors with trying to find a DC.
All right, DC. Since we're talking about DCs, your turn, bro.
Hey, I'm curious about how all that works. You know, we don't have a key leader in place, and I know some people can say, you know, well, don't worry about all that. Look, until you can talk about me, but until you actually are DC yourself, we both are just talking opinions. And I'm really kind of tired of that sometimes people are trying to get understanding. Sometimes people have misunderstanding. And so when they ask questions that may be probing in nature, folks consider that to be hating. It's not. It is really just the point of people like me, as I want to see it. I wasn't paid for 20 something years just to look at something and say, hey, that guy's got hope and we coming. No, it don't work that way from my background. So just that respecting that. But I'm curious to see who's a DC. I'm kind of with Phil, or was that Tim, that it's like, well, we don't have somebody in house. So even if they are a position coach, I guess I don't understand the logic of why would you leave a team that may be poised for a championship next year, and then you decide to go be a DC at the Colorado. Like, why not go be a head coach someplace? Like Buffalo needs a coach, that kind of stuff. So I'm learning, and great show as always, Harry. And the last thing is, folks, domestic violence is freaking serious. You have no idea. A lot of people have no idea. Some of you obviously have had experienced it. So you got to understand, you can look at it from your standpoint, but when you look at it from the victims, you got to understand the victims, that sometimes when people say, I'm all for redemption, all for second chances, just consider that sometimes these conversations can be triggering. And so we just got to make sure we're doing it with heavy hands. I mean, not heavy hands, but soft hands, making sure it's a safe, not a hate space for people to deal with stuff. Great show, Harry.
Good point. Good point. All right, Coach. Final words or final thoughts on the show? Any topic you want to highlight?
I want to say blessings to the chat. I want to say blessings to all the women that are leading us into a new space of life. I want to say blessings to Coach Prime and his platform. I want to say blessings to you and your platform, Harry. And I just want to thank the panel for allowing us to share our story, and that people do deserve redemption. People do deserve to be forgiven. And also, women do deserve to be respected and not abused or assaulted. And so, with that being said, I think there's a defensive coordinator in house, which his name is Dennis Thurman. He led Jackson State to the number one defense in the SWAC. So, we're going around about these things, as well as we got Coach Hart that ran the defense for Coach Prime with his high school and youth program. And yeah, we want to bring in more coaches that are NFL oriented and have NFL experience. But we got to believe, if he's not willing to bring a guy in with his own guys, we got to believe in the coaching staff that he has already assembled. And if you check those different experiences under those different coaches, you'll see, like Coach Danzy, he was a defensive coordinator before he became a head coach.
Dennis Thurman was hired by Hawaii University.
Breaking news. I ain't hear that.
Oh no, that's not breaking news. That happened like a while.
Yes,
That
yeah, I
happened.
think that's last week maybe.
Yeah. You too deep in. You gotta you gotta come up for some air.
Yeah, well, I got a life too, so I don't be
I know. I know. That's what I'm saying. You got you're deep in. Hey guys, look, Coach. I thank you for sharing your story. Tim, I thank you for sharing your story. DC for bringing in the legal aspect of understanding domestic violence. Feels so real. Always keeping it real, giving us your real thoughts and opinions on the issues that we talk about. And the chat, you guys, you share your opinions and you kept it, respectful. That's all I asked for. And we're Mondays and we're Fridays. Friday's coming up. We're gonna be free for all. Whatever happens, transpires from now until Friday. We will discuss it on that show. It starts at noon on the East Coast. We are 1 hours. but sometimes some of the topics get so deep that we got to keep it moving. And because I got to do a lot of research on these next videos that I'm doing. And I'll give y'all a hint on what I'm doing, guys. I'm going to be doing Coach Prime versus the Big 12 coaches. So the next video I'm dropping is going to be Coach Prime versus the Big 12 coaches. And I'll be giving y'all how successful each coach has been. I might have to break it into two videos, but we'll see how that goes. So look forward to that. All right, guys.
Just to piggyback, Coach Thurman hasn't been hired yet. He is finalizing the paperwork.
But he's not an option. I guess that was the pushback on you.
All right. Yeah, I can take that. I can take that.
Yeah. So like P Diddy, your friend says, tick that. He's not your friend. Okay. I'm sorry for saying he's your friend. Okay. That's TD's Jake's friend. Anyways, let me leave it right there. Let's not start another show. You guys, I'll see y'all on Friday. So bring all your issues on Friday, guys. It's free for all Friday. I will see y'all on Friday. Peace out. God bless.
See.
All right. All right, guys. So there you have it. Today's show was a very, I would say, heavy show. We had a couple of guys, a couple of the panel members share their personal feelings and their personal thoughts, and that added another dynamic to the show. So I want to thank, Coach Mike Lowry for sharing his personal story. I want to say condolences to Tim's family that lost their life because of the situation, the domestic violence situation. These are very sensitive situations, and these are very sensitive topics. We want to make sure that we handle it in the right manner. So I'm very grateful that I have people who are willing to be vulnerable and share their story, because those things, like when you talk about those things, you got trolls who would take it and they would treat it in a way that is not sensitive. So I'm glad that we had a show that was respectful, and we had a channel, we had a chat room that was pretty mature today. I'm very grateful for that. So I'll see y'all on Friday at 12 noon on the East Coast. It's going to be 9 a.m. on the West Coast. You know who I am, guys. I'm Harry B. And that right there was the Liberian Perspective. That's TLP Sports Club. Brah.